Hey everybody, this is Edwin with Texas Surplus and Survival on a nice toasty Thursday afternoon. This is July the 20th. So welcome, thanks for joining us, and we're going to have commenting open. So if you have any questions, feel free to type in and ask questions, and we'll see if we can't get something answered for you. I'm thrilled today to introduce Ben Zylberfuden to you. Ben and his family's been friends of our families for years and years, so it's fun to hook up and do some interviewing and kind of nerd out on some weather. So, Ben, why don't you give us a little background about your sport here in town?
Okay. Yeah. I've grown up in Abilene my entire life. Been here 26 years and went to school here briefly in elementary school. And then at some point I started homeschooling, and my sister and I homeschooled for quite a little while up to high school. And then I went to Adams, which is a STEM school here in town, and got a little more understanding of math and science, and we focused on those core subjects and kind of a more of a IT pathway.
Mhm.
I went into just computer programming and all that, and that just kind of helped with spark my interest and continue to grow my knowledge to where I have an ability to just navigate through different programs and software and things like that whenever I am looking into weather and weather models, and we'll talk a little more about that here
Right.
as we go on with the interview. So
Yeah, technology's really changed a lot in the last 10 or so years with Doppler radar, reporting stations. There's a lot of new apps out, where we can track storms and weather fronts. And uh, being a ham operator, we're involved in the Weather Watch. Yeah, sorry, lost for words. Anyway, storm spotting for the National Weather Service. And we go out and keep an eye on things, report what we actually see back to basically the National Weather Service office in San Angelo. And then they base a lot of what we see into what their warnings are. So it's really, some things have changed a lot in advance, but then a lot of things are still kind of grassroots, boots on the ground stuff. And that's really more what you're doing, isn't it? As far
yeah.
as storm chasing goes.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that really we need more people with a good understanding of weather and how it works and a passion for it. And storm chasing isn't just for the glory of it
Right.
or all that. It really has a lot of people that are just passionate about weather and really want others to learn more about weather and to be able to teach other people and help with that warning process when severe weather does come into your area.
Right.
So,
Now, there's a big difference between a storm spotter and a storm chaser.
mhm.
As I've chased storms, um, because I have a pretty advanced understanding of weather. Being a pilot, you become a pretty good meteorologist. So you kind of know what those boundaries are not to get done and get hurt.
Mhm.
Storm spotting, as far as the ham community goes, we try to keep our distance. We don't want our cars getting beat up. But storm spotters, there's a few rogues out there, and if they don't understand really what's developing and how the weather's changing, you can really get hurt doing this.
Of course, yeah, it's really a dangerous thing to get into, but it's worth it. And if you understand the dangers,
Right.
then it's a lot easier to navigate through it all. With storm chasing, you're getting a little bit closer, and some people even go out of state. We have people that go from one state to another, even one country to another.
Mhm.
And it's just there's endless possibilities with storm chasing versus storm spotting. It's more on a localized scale. Your county, your city, and you help out with that process. We have first responders that are storm spotters.
That's a good point.
We have other people that are maybe school teachers. Just any and everyone can be a storm spotter.
Right.
And we really need more storm spotters
Right.
because there is a shortage of them. But with storm chasers, they're there for the thrill. some are there for the monetary part of it.
Video
And
coverage.
right,
Mhm.
you want to get just the best angle of your storm and your
Right.
tornado, and even some people will film what are called sprites and just new weather phenomena that people just are mesmerized with. And so, yeah, with storm chasers, it's more time consuming. It's more takes more money. You're going to drive further distances. You're going to use more gas. But the payout is just based on how much your love for weather is. I mean,
Right.
for me, I've been obsessed with weather since I was probably about 5 years old,
Mhm.
and just anything and everything weather, I'm there. I'm studying it 24/7. I'm looking at what are called weather models,
Right.
these computer models that we put weather balloon information in, and scientists put it in there multiple times a day, and these weather models compute out just a computation of what they think the weather will do that day, that hour, all the way up to weeks and possibly even months in advance.
Okay.
So there's just a lot of things that storm chasers need to understand, and more materials they need to go over before they get out there and get on the road.
So this love for weather, is that kind of what you got, or what got you into storm chasing?
Yes, for sure. Like I said, I've been obsessed with weather since I was about 5 years old. And the more I looked at storm chasers on television, and even the movie Twister was one of those things
Yeah.
that inspired me to go out and go storm chasing. As soon as I could get my license, I was out there. Um, I didn't go alone. I normally took my dad with me. In fact, before I did get my license, I would have family members drive me if they're comfortable enough to take me out and go
So
storm
you've
chasing.
been doing this for a little while.
Yes, for sure. I've been doing it for, gosh, at least since I was probably 10 or 12 years old.
Okay, interesting. So
Mhm.
you're still looking for that cow flying by, right?
Yeah, yes and no. A lot of people get that misconception that I want tornadoes, and
Right.
if they come, they come, but I always hope for the best scenario, a twister and just a dirt field not affecting anyone's property or any person or any animal. It's just always looking for that beautiful, small, long, white tornado. It's kind of my personal favorites.
Right. Okay. So, what are some of the musts, if you can call it that, for storm chasing?
Yeah, you definitely want to have a good understanding of weather, and whenever you go out, it's good to have first aid kits.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have a buddy with you, someone that understands weather too and
Right.
has an interest in it.
Mhm.
You don't want just someone that's going just to go. You want someone that has a good understanding of the boundaries and when you're getting too close.
Right.
You want multiple escape routes.
Right.
So it's always good to have a game plan in case things go south.
So a navigator helps.
Yes,
Somebody with a
yes.
good map and somebody that knows that north is up.
That's right. Yes, you definitely want someone that's good with directions and can be able to behave in a safe and just not get freaked out by the
Right.
storm. You know, you don't want to panic. You want to be able to have a good game plan when things don't go your way, and they won't. There will be many times that you will need to just have a good understanding of how to get out of the harm's way.
Escape route.
That's right.
Okay.
Also, keep in mind everyone else that is around you, because that's where actually the most danger comes from, are the other chasers and other people driving around.
Okay. So what kind of equipment would be good for storm chasing? I mean, what all, we got all the techie stuff, but just some good basic equipment. What, what would help keep you out of trouble?
Right. Uh, I personally use an iPhone, iPad, any kind of cellular device. Uh, it's good to have a ham radio license and a ham radio.
Right.
I would have multiple ways of communication in
Right.
case one thing goes down.
Mhm.
Also, if you have the money and you have the time, invest in a drone. You can get your drone license and study all the laws and regulations, and get out there and get some good footage of storms and tornadoes and hailstorms and all that through a drone. You can't always get that shot from the ground. You can get a really spectacular shot from the air.
Right. So drones aren't cheap. What if they get sucked up? You just hope the footage is enough to pay off to buy a new one.
Yeah, they aren't cheap. That's right. And there's more and more regulations every day coming out.
Yeah.
So understanding those regulations is key. Yeah, most people get racing drones. There's specific drones that can handle high wind speeds, but just understanding the limits of your drone
Right.
and how close and how the weather around it's going to affect your drone, and how quickly it can change is a good
Okay.
thing to have.
So we've talked about some equipment and some do's. What about don'ts? What, I mean, there's,
Plenty of those.
hey, y'all, watch this. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's some limits that you don't want to push. Can you kind of touch on some of those?
Sure. You never want to get under an underpass. Do not stop under underpasses. That is the
Velocity.
biggest. Yes,
Yeah.
that is a big no-no. You don't want to do that. Try to get as far off on the road as you can. I wouldn't go out at nighttime. I
Right.
personally don't chase at night. It's very rare I do go out at night, especially if you don't have experience. I would not recommend going out at night. If there's flooding going on, definitely do not cross any roadways that
Right.
you just can't tell how deep the water is.
Mhm.
You don't really want to go alone. I don't recommend storm chasing alone. Sometimes that's my only option just because of the time of day,
Right.
but I definitely recommend having someone else go with you.
Okay.
So,
Well, is there a time that you should not chase? I mean, nighttime is pretty obvious. There's still a bunch of people that go out and they look for the rain wrapped, you know, that let the lightning light everything up. But I mean, there's got to be some situations where you just don't want to be there.
right. Definitely understand that storm motion is a huge thing. If you have storm motions, and you can look it up on Storm Prediction Center's website, they'll give a quick analysis throughout the day on the SPC website, and they'll talk about storm motions and how, and also on the weather watches when you have a tornado watch or severe thunderstorm watch. So touch on that. You don't want storm motions really over 45, 50 miles an hour. It's hard to keep up with them, and it gets real dangerous, especially when you have what's called chaser traffic.
Right.
And you get a lot of storm chasers all on the same road, and it gets very dangerous very quickly.
Yeah, we've actually had a couple of local ham operators that have been storm spotting and have actually been run off the road by some out-of-state storm chasers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's never good.
Mm-mm. No, we're out there to enjoy it and also to do it in a safe manner and provide reports too. Storm chasers also do reports. We're not just there to get
Right.
footage. We try to report and do some of the responsibilities that storm spotters also take care of.
Is there a good distance to stay from a storm, or how? I know you can, there's different directions to approach a storm from.
Right.
What can you tell us about, how to do that and what not to do?
Definitely. You don't want to go through the core of a storm.
Right.
That's a big thing that people glorify. You'll see Reed Timmer and others on social media go through a core of a storm. It's called hail punching or core punching. And you don't want to do that. I've done it once and I learned my lesson.
He's driving an army tank.
That's right.
Pretty much.
That's right. Some people, they just don't care. They have a beater vehicle. I personally don't recommend it. It gets real dangerous real quick.
And expensive.
And it gets very expensive. And it puts you in a bad position because you're blinded by that rain and hail, and all of a sudden the storm can change directions and you're not anticipating it, and you can be caught in a really bad place and have nowhere to go.
Well, that's pretty common around here because with the weather that we've had over the last 3 to 4 months, we've had storms come in and it was like there was a split, fork in the road. It just goes right around town and then it'll reform. Or it can be coming in from the north and then it just turns left and starts going east. We've had some interesting weather this spring. Is there anything that would attribute to that? what's some of the underlying causes of some of our unique weather we've had lately?
Sure. We're coming out of what's called La Nina, and La Nina essentially is the waters of the equatorial Pacific.
Mhm.
They're colder than normal. And so when the waters are colder than normal, it's at zero point 0.5 degrees Celsius. When they're below that, or in what's called La Nina, it takes, I think, 3 months for us to be classified in La Nina
Okay.
and waters below that temperature. And so what happens when we transition out of La Nina into either neutral or El Nino is the troughs, the way they, and this is the jet stream I'm talking about, the maker of all our weather.
Mhm.
It carries these troughs up and over these high pressure systems, and so they're less amplified when it comes to more of a neutral El Nino,
Mhm.
and there's less flow with them. So the less flow they have, the more erratic the weather's going to be. It's not going to be large outbreaks. It's going to be more isolated storms,
Random.
random. The further you get into the severe weather season too, you're going to get these strange storm motions. So earlier on in the spring, you're going to get more of an east, northeast, or southeast.
Mhm.
Later on, as you get closer to summer, the steering winds up aloft that steer the storms,
Mhm.
it's going to become less and less. And so cold fronts will sometimes be the boundary that storms will latch onto and can go very odd directions. Even northeast to southwest
Right.
is not uncommon, north to south. You'll get more of those erratic storm motions.
And we just had one of those, what, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, that
Mm.
came in from the northeast to southwest across Abilene. It was interesting to watch because it was just going south, and then it put its blinker on and just headed straight for our area.
Mm.
So that was kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So, what about hurricane season? How does that affect our storm weather?
Hurricanes can be a big contributor to our weather around here. If you're on the northwest side of a hurricane, you can get very hot, very dry conditions.
Right.
That's kind of the ventilation of the hurricane. It's ventilating out that heat from that inner core. Hurricanes are a warm core, low pressure system that reaches all the way from the surface way up in the atmosphere. They're very organized,
Mhm.
and so here in West Texas, we tend to get more of the drier side of these systems,
Mhm.
but occasionally in neutral and El Nino years, we can get hurricanes from the Pacific, and they'll cross over Mexico and come right over, and we can even get tornadoes out of those storm
Yeah,
systems.
in the summer, mid-summers, I've noticed that when we have some of the Baja Gulf hurricanes and weather activity, that'll just funnel that moisture right up over across Texas, and that's where we usually get our rain events in the summertime.
Mhm.
So it doesn't really get that stormy, but it can.
It can, yes. We get a lot more moisture from those storms.
Mhm.
The mountains can sometimes break them apart, but occasionally we will get an area of low pressure that will reform as it comes back over the mountains and into parts of western and southwestern Texas. So,
Okay. So I've seen a lot of pictures that you post on your Facebook page. And just to remind everybody, we'll have a link to Ben's Facebook page. He has some fantastic photos of some of the storms that we've had over the last couple of months. And he'll also have some links to some of the stuff that he uses to chase with on his page. So um, it's everybody with a camera or a phone that thinks they're going to get rich. There's when you start trying to monetize stuff, it starts kind of clouding some people's judgment. They do dumb things. So the experienced storm chasers, how are they monetizing their basically their product or their efforts?
they'll go on to YouTube, create YouTube channels,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, it just depends on your storm chaser. Sometimes they'll use what's called clickbait, and they'll hype it up and make it look like more than it is.
Uh-huh.
And so I'd be wary of some of that. But yes, YouTube's one platform you can monetize. Facebook Live, a lot of people have Facebook Lives. They start off that way,
Mhm.
and they just add something unique to um, the weather that they are talking about. Some people have another interest that they add into it to make it more interesting.
Right.
When you take photos and videos, there are apps that will broadcast it and take a percentage of that. They'll broadcast it to different social media and news outlets, and they'll sell it to them. It's kind of like almost like eBay, and they'll bid on those videos and photos and give you a little bit of percentage of that. It is more and more difficult as more people are saturating the market.
Right.
And it's definitely getting more dangerous too for people. They want to get wilder shots of weather, and I'm seeing more and more people putting their lives in harm's way just to get the money shot. So,
yeah, you can't spend it if you're not around to spend it.
that's right. That's right. So,
Well, do you have any advice for anybody that may want to get into? We'll start with storm spotting and then possibly move it into storm chasing.
with storm spotting, we have a annual class that you can go to. It's at ACU here in Abilene, but they offer in other cities around the area for the National Weather Service for San Angelo. That's our National Weather Service for our local district. But yes, you can go. It's normally around the last week of February every year, and it's at ACU, and it's free, totally free, and you can get kind of a good basic knowledge of weather and how to safely storm spot and from your house or from the local areas around here. Definitely want to get plugged into ham radio and look into getting your license for that and have that extra way to communicate in case cell towers go down. And then with storm chasing, I would recommend going to pivotalweather.com. There's free weather models. I have a subscription, but it's free and available to everyone. Also, there are weather models available on the Storm Prediction Center's own SPC Meso analysis. And there's real-time weather data there. Now, weather models are very difficult to understand, and so to help you understand them, there are lots of free courses. Tornado Titans has what's called Titan U, and they have videos on specific weather models and how to read weather models, and anywhere from a beginner all the way up to advanced level. So,
do you have that information on your Facebook page?
I can provide it. I don't currently have it, but yes, I can post all those links to those websites. But yeah.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to touch on while we're on the subject?
Just remember, safety is always number one priority. We're always out there to be safe and have fun. And one of the reasons why I don't go real deep into the monetization is I realize that the more I'm trying to count on the weather, it just doesn't do what you want it to most of the time. So you're gonna have days that are just gonna be called bust days, and just get out there, enjoy nature, enjoy weather, and don't do it for the money necessarily, but just do it for the pure enjoyment of studying God's creation.
And at the same time, what we report and see and learn helps further the safety of other people in the future as well.
That's right.
Well, Ben, thanks for being on the show. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. Please feel free to comment and ask questions as you watch the video later. We'll have links up for some of the sites that Ben was talking about. Ben's going to put some on his Facebook page. But again, we want to thank you for taking the time out to watch. Stay tuned. We will be doing another interview next week. And have a blessed weekend, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.